we got some more clarity on the Miami Hurricanes recruiting visits this weekend for the game against Louisville. So let's dive in.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday again. I'm Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. Thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen or your second listen today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts and available free on YouTube. So I wanted to pop in for an extra episode here on Friday because some of the things we were talking about this morning and yesterday in terms of recruiting visitors, there's additional information and some different information. First thing is, I was told this morning by someone who did the legwork on reporting this, that Florida committed linebacker, 4-star Adarius Hayes, do not expect him to visit Miami on Saturday. He hadn't shown up officially in any of the visitors lists, but it was still a situation we were monitoring. There were some rumors about him, but my friend and our colleague Brian Smith went out and visited him yesterday afternoon at his high school and kind of talked to him about his commitment situation. And Adarius Hayes, he doubled down on Florida. He says he's a Gator. The swamp is the place for him. And so, he's not going to be coming down and visiting Miami. And just obviously still, you never know what can happen between now and National Signing Day. But it seems like Adarius Hayes is pretty locked in with Florida. In terms of Florida State, because we know some Florida State committed players are going to be visiting, a couple of defensive backs, Ricky Knight III, who gave Miami a long, hard look before he verbally committed to Florida State. He is coming down, and I know Miami would love to flip him if possible. And another one is C.J. Hurd. C.J. Hurd is a 3-star safety out of Woodward Academy, good high school program in Atlanta, Georgia. He's going to be visiting Miami. He's verbally committed to Florida State. My understanding is he and Florida State are parting ways. That I don't know if this is on him or on them pushing him out, or he's deciding he doesn't want to play there. Whatever it is, it's being reported now by Florida State insiders that C.J. Hurd is not going to be part of Florida State's class. He is going to be visiting Miami on Saturday. I think this is a player Miami staff does like. So it may kind of depend on how interested Miami is. My understanding is it's probably either Miami or Georgia Tech for C.J. Hurd, who is, I don't think he's officially decommitted yet at this time, but I don't expect him to be part of Florida State's class. He's going to be visiting. Other big names that are confirmed on the visitors list for Miami this weekend, two of the top players in the country who both happen to be teammates at Mainland High School in Daytona Beach. LJ McCray. That's a name we've brought up so many times on Locked On Canes. That's one of those 5-star defensive tackles that Miami seemingly missed out on to this point in the recruiting cycle. He's verbally committed to Florida. We know what's going on at Florida. They've been struggling. They just surrendered, 700 plus yards last week against LSU. We're seeing multiple players jumping ship from Billy Napier's recruiting class. LJ McCray has not done so just yet, but he's apparently keeping his options open to the point where he is going to be visiting Miami alongside his teammate Zay Mincy. Zay Mincy, 4-star. Actually, he's a 5-star now. I think he recently got upgraded. 5-star defensive back out of Mainland High School. He's uncommitted. He's long been kind of considered a Florida lean, but with a lot of the negativity happening up there in Gainesville, perhaps this is the sort of thing that can pull him more towards Miami, and Miami would love to land both of these guys. So on a bit of a recruiting related note, I think this is really cool because this shows more kind of unity and organization on a name, image, and likeness front. The University of Miami and Canes Connection are stepping up their partnership. This press release just dropped earlier today. Canes Connection is now the official name, image, and likeness collective of the University of Miami. This is from the press release that Miami released today. We are excited to announce that Canes Connection is our official NIL collective. Dan Radakovich, Miami's athletic director, said, Canes Connection is rapidly developing partnerships to benefit student athletes, which will help Miami build the most successful NIL program in college athletics. Here's the statement from the managing director of Canes Connection. Canes Connection is proud to become the official NIL collective of Miami Hurricanes athletics, he says. So obviously, Canes Connection already had become like the preeminent collective. Now that they have an official partnership with the university, things are only going to get even better and more organized from there. They already had the vast majority of the football team signed up, almost everyone on the team, if not everyone on the roster by now. Basketball and other sports, they've been stepping up. So happy for Canes Connection and happy for the University of Miami for making that official. I want to answer some more of you guys' questions because we talked about it on this morning's episode. I got so many questions and I talked too darn much. I left some of you guys hanging. So we're going to answer more of your questions that you've been asking me on our exclusive SMS texting service, Locked On Canes Insiders. You can click the link in the show description below to sign up and try it free for 14 days. On Locked On Canes Insiders, you get text messages directly from my phone to yours, and you can ask me one-on-one questions. I give you guys breaking news, recruiting updates, insights, and show previews on there. So try it free for 14 days. And then if you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. And we give you a lot of added value on there. So don't go anywhere, my friends. We're only getting started on this episode of Locked On Canes. Prize Picks. Prize Picks is really changing the game, my friends. It is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. The easiest and most exciting way to play DFS, because it's just you against the numbers at Prize Picks. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you just pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in, man. And you can go cross sport. What I love about Prize Picks, you could have 2 football players, 2 basketball players, cross league and cross sport, college football, NFL, NBA, all on the same selections. And with a couple of clicks, you can turn $10 into $250. You can make up to 25 times your money back on Prize Picks. And Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So, guys, you want to go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and code LOCKEDONCollege to match your first deposit up to $100. Prize Picks truly is daily fantasy sports made easy. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first and second listen today. Alex Donno, I want to read some questions here from you guys from Locked On Canes Insiders. By the way, we're part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Here we get one from Mall 4K. He says, not a question. TVD will ball out tomorrow, and we will get the upset, he says. Hear, hear. I love it. We get a 2-parter from Bob in Louisville. And by the way, Bob, thank you for supporting Miami in what's going to be enemy territory tomorrow. Louisville's coming down here to play the game. But I was texting with Bob, and he said, he's up there in Louisville, so if Miami doesn't win, he's going to be hearing it from all his friends and coworkers up there. He says, why the bleep is Jacurri Brown not playing? The red shirt is already protected. Can we get an accurate report on his ability to do the job? Number 2, has the offensive play calling been mostly dictated by player skill, or is this, quote unquote, the playbook in all its glory? As far as why Brown isn't playing, we know he wanted to redshirt and that his preference apparently was, obviously not to play enough to burn the red shirt. I don't know if his preference was not to play at all. I think anybody who plays football at this level wants to get out on the field and play. You asked, can we get kind of an accurate accountability or report on where he is right now? We can't because practices are all closed during the season. So I don't know what Jacurri's been out there looking like in practice this year. Okay. I know he's been putting in a lot of hard work into improving himself as a passer. He's already a dynamic runner, tremendous athlete. He's trying to become more of a well-rounded quarterback. As far as why he's not playing this year, We'll never know for sure. We'll find out. Hopefully we'll find out at some point at the end of the season. And I hope he stays. I hope he doesn't transfer. Now, you asked about the offensive play calling, if it's mostly dictated by player skills, or is this the playbook in all its glory? You know, I watched enough Houston last year, Shannon Dawson's offense, having a dual threat quarterback, playing against obviously different levels of competition that Miami plays against. I don't think this is the full playbook. I think if anything, Dawson, he's trying to find a marriage between a power running game and air raid passing schemes. Maybe that's been a little bit more difficult than some people anticipated it would be. How much influence does Mario Cristobal have over the offensive philosophy? That's a question I do not know the answer to. But then the other part of that question is obvious. When your quarterbacks are playing well, your offense is going to look really good. Was anybody complaining about Dawson first 4 games of the year? You put up 48 points against Texas A&M. Was anybody complaining about the offense then? No. Your quarterback started to throw interception after interception after interception, and so on and so on and so on. And then suddenly we all have, pitchforks and torches, and we're all, complaining about the play calling. Don't think one of those things doesn't relate to the other, that you get handcuffed when your play at the most important position, the guy who touches the football on every play, when that play drops and that player loses his confidence, it has a ripple effect to the entire offense. So I'm not saying Dawson, doesn't deserve, some blame for the offense not being what it was earlier in the season. He does. I mean, he's the quarterback's coach and the offensive coordinator. I think it's up to him to try and get people like Brashard Smith and hopefully Ray Joseph and Chris Johnson, fast, dynamic players. It's his job to get guys more touches and more involved. But to answer your question, I don't think this is the full playbook. I think that there are limitations that are coming from numerous different directions here. We get a question from Ed, who says, do you think Tyler Van Dyke transfers to SMU to get back with Coach Lashlee? Okay. Here's the thing. SMU has a good quarterback right now, Preston Stone, and he's only a sophomore. So unless Stone transfers, maybe he decides I want to go to, a bigger program. I was going to say a Power 5 program, but SMU is going to be joining the ACC. But maybe Stone decides to go to a bigger football program. Otherwise, I don't think SMU is the move for Van Dyke. So we'll have to see, and again, we'll see what happens with Tyler, okay? But if he does decide to take his talents elsewhere, he's also going to be looking for a good situation for him to potentially start or compete to start somewhere. I'm not sure SMU is going to be that spot for him. Just to kind of update you on where that stands. We get a question from Salty Warrior, who says, this quarterback thing is not good, but it is what it is. And Jacurri Brown looks to be a non-player this year. So my question is, if Tyler Van Dyke goes down and Brown's not playing, who will we use as a quarterback? You heard the scenario mentioned anywhere. Who would be the quarterback? It was off air, but I had that conversation a day or two ago with Brian Smith. We were talking, and he's like, well, what happens if Tyler goes down? And what happens if, for whatever reason, Tyler doesn't want to play in the bowl game? Right? Because if he does decide to transfer, he might be in the portal by the time Miami plays in their bowl game. So that is a very valid question. My answer would be, I cannot see a scenario where Jacurri Brown would refuse to play if he's needed that much. I think he would be the guy. I think if Tyler Van Dyke were to, suffer another injury, or if, he doesn't play in the bowl game, I think Brown's got to be the guy. But then again, you're down to one final quarterback. The Canes do have walk-on quarterbacks. Jaden George is the one with the most seasoning. Watching him in fall camp, he was getting the most reps out of the walk-ons. So, in an absolute break glass in case of emergency, you do have walk-on quarterbacks on the team that would play or be available to play if needed. Then there's also, if you really don't have a quarterback who you trust to go out there, you could just play Brashard Smith in the Wildcat for the entire game. Right? That, maybe you have, I think that's one of the guys you have who has some experience, playing quarterback or at least lining up as a quarterback. But let's hope it doesn't get to that point, because if you're having to use either a walk-on or a Wildcat quarterback, you're down bad. And I hope that doesn't happen to Miami. Oh, man. We got a question. Man, I don't know. I thought I had this one written down to attribute to somebody. Maybe I don't. So I'm just going to say, because I have gotten this question from multiple people now. Lance Guidry, now that his stock is soaring through the roof and he's a Broyles Award semifinalist, Miami's defensive coordinator who we love, is there a legitimate concern that Guidry could get poached by LSU, who's probably going to be looking for a new defensive coordinator? Listen, obviously that possibility is always there when you have a coordinator who's doing a great job. I recall a preseason chat that we had with Lance Guidry where he was kind of asked, like, did you grow up? Because he's a Bayou guy, he's Cajun. Did he grow up, is LSU a dream job for him? And he went out of his way to say no. Like, his allegiances growing up were to McNeese State, not to LSU. And he actually said he considered Miami to be a dream type of job when he took it. So, those are just words. Actions speak louder than words. Money also talks. We know LSU is a program with deep pockets and financial resources. So here's the thing, man. Miami wants to keep Lance Guidry. You're probably going to have to, you may have to pony up, and you may have to give him a raise and a contract extension, something like that. And I think that's the type of guy you fight for. That's the type of guy you fight to keep, because Guidry, I believe, is a gem. And it's not just about what he's done this year at Miami. It's about what he did at Marshall, what he did in his previous stops. Western Kentucky, he revolutionized their defense. This guy is a star in the making, and he's already got a very good track record and resume to this point. You fight to keep this guy, whatever you have to do. Hopefully he's happy. He and Cristobal seem to have a good relationship. He has a good relationship with his players. You fight to keep that dude, because Lance Guidry is a special one, man. All right, guys. So Miami taking on Louisville tomorrow at noon. Hope everybody enjoys the game. I'll be in touch with everybody throughout the weekend on the Locked On Canes Insiders chat. So try it free. It's a great time to try Locked On Canes Insiders, especially as we get closer to December, because there's going to be a lot of recruiting chatter on our Locked On Canes Insiders. Click the link in the show description below. Try it free for 14 days, then opt in for $4.99 a month if you're enjoying it. And we'll talk to you guys again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.